Hey Meeple people, how's it going? On today's video, we are doing a first impression of Forges of Ravenshire. This is a game that will be up and coming soon, and we're going to give you a first take of what we think of this game. But first, let's go ahead and start with Sarah and how she enjoyed and thought about this game. This game is, before that, it's 1 to 4 players, 50 to 100 minutes, and is for ages 12 up. Now, this is a pre-production prototype copy, so everything you see, everything we kind of like say about the rules are subject to change. So let's go ahead and get into it. Sarah, will you please let us know what your thoughts are on this game so far?
Sure. So we've just played our first game of Forges of Ravenshire, and I actually think it's a really cool game. I like it quite a bit. Because this is sort of a pre-production copy, they're still working on a few things. I don't want to rip anything too hard because things could change. And I will get into what I didn't like about it in a little bit, but one of the things that I think is really cool about this game is that in this game you are working in like a forge, and you're collecting resources to use in your forge so that you can craft these different items. So you're collecting resources like steel and wood and pelts and that kind of stuff, and then you're trying to turn those items into these things here for victory points and other things like that. And the way that we do all of our resource collection and how we like manipulate our resources to turn them into other resources and things like that is all with these dice. So there's 3 different colors of dice in the game. There's green, yellow, and purple. And what you do essentially on your turn is you choose one of these dice from like this sort of market board over here, and you
place
first. Okay, sorry.
And then you'll take.
Place it first. So you place one of your own dice first onto the board, and then you perform an action. So like if I put this 3 here, then I get to perform this action where this 3 would let me acquire one of these tiles and a good. But if I'd have put my 3 over here instead, I'd have gotten a piece of steel. Or over here, I could have gotten a couple of embers or that kind of thing. So you're placing your dice on the board to interact with these different places over here. And then after you place your dice and interact with that location, you also remove a die and interact with that location. So let's say that I take this purple 4 right here. Well, then I am going to get some pelts from this section over here. This one is going to go into one of my own personal sort of like forge areas, and then I'm going to guilds, excuse me. It's going to go into one of my guilds, and then it's going to allow me to perform an action in that guild section as well. So there's a lot to consider when you're placing dice out and removing dice. You have to think about the actions that are available to you on the board, and not just like the action itself, but how good do you want the action to be, right? Because if I use a 1, 2, a 3 here, I only get 1 piece of steel. But if I use a 4, 5, or 6, I get 1 piece of steel plus an extra token. So do I want to use one of my higher numbers here to get that extra token, or do I maybe need that number somewhere else? So you're thinking about placing it on the board to get what you want off the board, but then you're also thinking about what you remove from the board. Okay, again, same thing. I'm thinking about the resources I can get by removing this number from the board, but I'm also thinking about which of these guilds I'm going to place this die in, because you have to place in the guild that matches the color of the die. So if I really wanted to run my green guild, this isn't going to do it for me. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I should take that one over there. I'm going to get different resources for it, but it's going to let me run my green guild, which I've really worked on to create like a very well-functioning guild. So maybe I should draft a green die instead. So there's a lot going on with these dice. After we do all of that, after we take a die, after we place a die, after we put the die in our guild, at the end of a round, we're also going to take all of the die that we've placed into our guilds, and we're going to put them into this sort of like engine
production
system.
Side.
Yeah, and then they're going to do more stuff for us over here based on the number. So there is so much to consider when you're taking and placing these die. When you're placing the die, you're thinking about what you want for yourself, but you're also thinking about what you're providing for your opponent to be able to do with the die that you're placing out there. And then when you're taking these dice and placing them on your board, you're not just thinking about the resources that you're going to get over here, you're also thinking about what you can do with those dice once they're in your guilds, and then once they move into your production side as well. So I personally think that the dice, like, in this game are so interesting. To me, this is where so much of like the shine of this game comes from, is thinking what you want to do with these dice. because you're thinking so many steps ahead. Okay, if I take this 3 and I put it over here, it's green, so I can run my green guild, but then I can also use it in this production to get these extra tokens, and I'll use those tokens to turn into this thing. And so it's this, the dice, the placement and the taking of the dice in this game is what I personally think is the most unique aspect of the game, the most interesting part of the game as well. A few things that I don't like about the game are pretty much just like the way that everything sort of comes together from like a bookkeeping perspective. So in games, if you have to, manage your resources or move some things around or whatever, that's all bookkeeping. It doesn't actually relate to what you're doing mechanically or even thematically in the game at all. It's just stuff you have to do to be able to play the game as you go. And in this game, there's kind of a lot of bookkeeping that stems from these tracks right here. So this is how we track all of our resources in this game, or a lot of our resources in this game. For example, this is my wood right now. I have 5 pieces of wood. But if I gain wood, let's say that I gain 3 pieces of wood, right? Well, then I move this to 8. But if I gain 3 more pieces of wood, now I have 11 pieces of wood. I have to move this to the 10s column and then this all the way back to the 11 or the 1s column. So now I have 11 pieces of wood. And as I was playing the game, just managing the resources with this sort of like abacus style production counter was kind of a little fiddly, a little bit more fiddly than if it was just like you reach into a bowl and you grab, 8 of these resources or whatever. Additionally, what you're trying to do is you're trying to craft these items, and they require different things. So like this particular piece of gear requires 11 pieces of steel, 6 pelts, and 2 of these teeth. Well, the teeth are these tokens right here. So that's cool. I could put those on there, and I'm not assigning them to it. I'm just saying like, okay, these are probably going to go to this right here. But all the rest of these have to come off of these tracks right here. So as you're playing, you have to be like, okay, how much steel did I have again? Oh, I have, 8. So I need 3 more to be able to make this one, or, and then I just kind of wish that it was all token based, because to me, that makes it a lot easier to keep track of what you have versus what you need. And it also cuts down so much on the bookkeeping of this section right here. It's really not that big of a deal, but it just kind of gets in the way of strategizing and playing the game when you're constantly like bookkeeping these abacus style sort of like slider things. I like that they have the dual molded or the dual layered boards, so that these don't like you can't like bump these. They're in there. Like if you want to move one, you like pick it up and actually like move it. So I like that if we are going to have things like this, they've got the dual layered board. That's cool. But I personally feel like they could rework this entire section, maybe just cut out like everything from here and instead of making it tracks that you track these resources on, just give us tokens like this, and then maybe make this right here come down like vertically instead of horizontally here. And then they could even cut this board so that that's not quite so big over here. That's a little bit of a nitpicky point, but there were several times in the game where I was trying to think about like doing more than one of these productions. So then I was like, I would have to go and I'd have to count. I'd be like, okay, for this, if I was going to do both of these, I would need 22 pieces of steel, 11 pelts, 2 teeth, and 2 dragon scale. The dragon scale and the teeth are really easy. I could just set those on the card and be like, okay, I got those. But then for everything else, I would have to like look over here and count. And then if I moved on to something else and I forgot how much it was that I needed, I'd have to count again. Whereas if it would be tokens, I could just kind of pile them up near it and be like, okay, those are the ones I'm planning to use for that. I just feel like it could have been a little bit easier to focus on what I really wanted to focus on if I didn't have to focus on counting all of my resources over and over and over again. Other than that, though, I think it's really a unique and fun experience, especially because like what I was saying earlier with these dice, it's really fun to think about like the puzzle that exists. If I use this die here, then it's going to go over here and I'm going to do this with it. And then I'm going to get this other die and it's going to go over here and I'm going to do this with it. And then it's going to go over here and it's going to get to do this and this and this. I think it's really, that puzzle is really interesting and fairly unique. I like the theme. I think it's really cute. There's like animal foragers. So like I was like a raven or a corvid maybe, and Nick is like some little ground dwelling thing. So I think the theme is really cute. I like the little animal anthropomorphic animals that, you know, are building something. And I like the theme of that we're like working in forges and we're creating these different, you know, like medieval-esque, you know, pieces of equipment and things like that. So yeah, that's what I think of Forges of Ravenshire. What did you think, Nick?
So I was the one that taught or learned and then taught, which was interesting because it's usually vice versa. It's usually flipped where Sarah's teaching me. But I liked the puzzling aspect with the dice. I did think that it got a little hairy when you were trying to craft multiple items after you've grabbed them, and to see if you were gonna go ahead and just sort it out with the dice and the tokens. I think it would be better with all tokens, but I'm not exactly sure how that would look within the game or how the designers and the team would tackle that. But I just think tokens would. I think my preference is tokens, but also. I know this is one of the things I talked with Sarah about, but the rules just need to be. It feels like there is a lot of like, I don't know. It just needs to be tightened up a little bit. And because I was reading into some things, and I was like, okay, there's a couple of things mentioned in different places that I didn't really understand, and then I got it. And I only think I got it because I played so many board games, and I've seen kind of less than ideal rule books, and I figured it out from going through BGG. I just think the rule book needs some work. Again, this is not the final form. This is just people, this is just their pre-production copy. So the prototype copy. So I definitely think there is room for improvement for the rules, and that they will definitely tackle that. I think there's a lot going on. So if you kind of get lost in that, then it might be a difficult game for you. But if you like the puzzly aspect and the resource management and the satisfaction to see your management work well and get you a lot of points. The purpose of the game is to get the most gold, and you'll get a bunch of gold during the game, and then towards the end of the game, there's this renown tract that will go ahead and give you more gold at the end of the game. So it's like end of game bonus for creating so many of these pieces of equipment, shields, and how much the quality is. Is it common, uncommon, or legendary stuff? I think this is a game that's going to be interesting and well received, especially with the artwork. The artwork is freaking adorable. When I first saw this and I saw the artwork for it, I was just like, yes, I like it. It's not zombies, it's not anything space related, it's not an IP. It's someone that went ahead and got their artist team together and went ahead and were like, let's create something super cute, but then also something that's not light either. The game has depth to it, which is very interesting, and I enjoyed it. I can't wait to get this, play this a couple more times, or play this as much as I can before I have to ship this off to the next reviewer or the person that's receiving it, or send it back to the company. But I think this is one that people should definitely look out for, and I will put in the description of this video links so you can keep up to date or keep on top of this game and when it comes out. And I think it's going to come to a crowdfunding platform, and if not, it'll all be in the description of this video. So if you're interested of what we were talking about and you want to learn more about it, that we will have also the BGG page in the description. We'll have all the information there, so you can learn more about it if we sparked your interest from what we already have told you. So
I actually have a little bit more to say. I thought about it while you were talking, and one of the things that I think is neat about the game too is the renown track. So down here on the bottom of this board, there's a track for renown, and it's not victory points, although it does give you victory points depending on where you are on this track at the end of the game. But it's not really victory points. It allows you to unlock more and more as you go. And part of what it allows you to unlock is the different levels of things. So initially, when you start crafting items in this game, you can only craft like the level 1 items, and you can't unlock the level 2 or 3 items until you surpass that place on the renowned track. So you have to craft like these very basic items, which require a lot of different resources at first, and they don't give you as many points as some of the higher ones do, but they do allow you to get a little bit of points, and then they also give you tokens, which are helpful later. But as you craft these items and as you do other things, you can start to move up the renowned track, and once you've moved up to 2 on the renowned track and 6, then you unlock the level 2 and level 3 items for the game. And the prices or what's required for these changes a little bit. So like you notice on this one, it requires 8 steel to craft this, 8 steel and 4 pelts. This one requires 9 steel, 5 pelts, 3 wood, and 2 teeth. But it gives you a lot more gold, and it also gives you a renowned instead of just this token. These tokens are nice, but this renowned, in my opinion, is better. And then if you go from like the level 2s to the level 3s, this one costs 9 steel. This one only costs 5. This one costs 3 wood, where this one costs 11. This one costs 5 pelts. This one costs 6. This one had 2 teeth, and this one was like 2 of these. So the prices sort of fluctuate depending on which level of item that you're trying to craft. But it seemed like to me a lot of the higher value items were a little easier to craft once you had gotten to that point, but you had to like get to the point where you were like, you know, you were knowledgeable enough or skilled enough to be able to actually craft these items. So I thought that was kind of a cool, I think they have got an interesting balance between like making these first ones. They're kind of expensive. You have to give up a lot of resources, and you don't really get that many points for it. And the second and third tier ones are a little bit better as far as like how many resources you have to give up versus how many points you get. But you can't unlock the access that you need to be able to craft these unless you're working up on that renowned track. And there's other incentives to do that as well. But I did think that was kind of an interesting part of the game as well. And then those guilds that we talked about too, when you run your guilds, they start off with just kind of some basic, like, okay, you can do these small little things here, but you can pay to add like sort of extra stations to your guilds. And these provide you more that you can do in your guilds. But in order to do that, you have to pay resources, gold, which is your victory points. So you have to pay points in order to get these. And then you also have to use an action to be able to acquire this and put it into your board. So you have to like balance, okay, I really want to upgrade my forge or my guilds a lot. But in order to do that, I'd have to pay victory points. I have to use my turns to do that. But doing that gives you more and more like resources and rewards every time you run your different guilds. And then because there's 3 different ones, there's the purple, the yellow, and the green, you have to kind of decide like, okay, am I going to build like evenly on my guild? So no matter which guild I run, it's running very nicely. Or am I going to like really, really buff one of my guilds? Then every time I run that guild, I get a lot of really nice stuff. So there's just a lot of, I don't know, I think fun and interesting decisions in this game, things to like think about while you're playing. And, again, I liked it a lot. I think they need to work on this a little bit just so that the bookkeeping in the game isn't as intense as it is right now, and it doesn't distract you from what you're really trying to do in this game, because what you're really trying to do is a lot of fun and is very interesting in my opinion.
Boom. Boom, there it is. So that was our thoughts on Forges of Ravenshire. Again, our initial thoughts, our preview of this game. Again, we will have more information in the description of this video so you can find out more about it. And so we all hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informational, and I hope you are playing games just as much as we are. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and play more games, obviously. And yeah, we'll see y'all next time. All right. Toodles!